Okay, so we are in Narada Bhakti Sutra, and 2 weeks ago when we had class, we were in Sutra 2. So Sutra 2 says, Satu asmin parama prema rupa. The first sutra was about Naradaji saying that we are going to now expound on Bhakti. Now it says sa, that bhakti, tu asmin, in that truth, parama prema rupa, is the nature of supreme love. And I'll share my screen. Last time we had this whole discussion on what is supreme love. So we'll just take a glance through this, and then we will move forward to the next few sutras. So this prema, what exactly is supreme love? So supreme love is that which is higher love. But how do we know it's higher? Because it's directed to a higher ideal. It's directed to something much greater than us. And this love it makes us independent of everything else. So this clue here, right? Independence, what it means is that when we love something higher, when we love our parents, our teachers, our ideal, our country, somebody even who we're with, our spouse, when we see them as a higher ideal, what happens is we become independent of desiring for the world. We don't desire for the world anymore as much, especially when it's something really big, like a country, right? When we're standing up for a country, all of our love just goes there, that our love for the world, desires of the world, diminishes greatly. And what to talk about? Our love for God. When we love God and we start seeing God in everyone, then the love for the world also diminishes. So in that way, it makes us independent of desiring for the world. So I wanted to clarify that point. And this supreme love also, how do I know that I am loving something higher? What is the secret to that, or what is the cue to that? Is because that love, that abode or ideal, it makes me expand to love everybody. So when I love my country, it makes me expand my love for everybody in my country. Lower love is when we love something or someone, but they only want to keep us to them or make us only love them. That just reduces love. So this is how I know that I'm loving something higher. It's because it makes me independent of worldly desires, and it expands my love to love more and to love greater. So this is when I know I'm loving something higher. And also in this love, we keep giving, because the fulfillment of that bhakti, parama prema, is the giving in itself. So it's the giving in itself is the fulfillment. We're not anymore waiting. What am I going to get? What's he going to give me or she going to give me? Just in that giving, we feel so happy. So sometimes, especially when we're young and we give someone a present, then we'll keep asking, did you open it? How was it? Is it good? Is it this? Is it that? And did you like it? And so many questions we will ask because we want to feel fulfilled in our heart that they liked it, right? In this, there is no more question of how did I do? How was it? There's just that fulfillment that in giving. That's all it is. Or sometimes when people cook, they'll ask, how was the food? Did it taste good? Was it okay? This, that. So many questions. But the one who truly, truly cooks, they cook with all their heart, they know. They know, because in that giving was their fulfillment. So bhakti is like that. In the giving is the fulfillment in itself. So there's no waiting for what is to be received. This is called Parama Prema Rupa Swarupa. And in this bhakti is when two become one. That's how you know it's Parama Prema Rupa. Two becomes one. So when I love God, my God and I become one. That's Parama Prema Rupa. When I love my country or an ideal, we become one. You don't feel any separateness. In a very, very beautiful way. So this is the nature of bhakti or devotion. Now, what else is the nature of bhakti? So here in the third sutra, I'll chant and then you can repeat after me. Amrita Swarupa cha. Amrita Swarupa cha. It means of the nature, Swarupa, of the nature of immortality. Cha. So it's of the nature of immortality. Why is this bhakti, this love for the Lord? Now here particularly, earlier in Sutra 2, I was explaining the higher kind of love. So I've given different examples of a higher kind of love. Here particularly, love for the Lord, love for God is bhakti, and it's immortal, of the nature of immortality, because Bhagavan is immortal, right? Our love for the objects, they perish. Our love for a computer, our love for a hobby. First we like this hobby and then after a while we don't like it anymore. Our love for a certain place, we like it, then we don't like it anymore. So our love for objects are perishing because objects also perish. And our love for people also, maybe it doesn't perish, but it also changes and fluctuates. But this love for God, this love for that divine truth is Amrita Swarupa. It's of the nature of immortality because Bhagavan is immortal. Now, what does this immortal mean? Immortal means not the longevity of the body. Immortal means that I realize that I am the immortal self. See, mortality means change. Identifying with that which changes and eventually dies, that's called mortality. So when I identify with the limited body, the mind, the intellect, the ego, when I identify with what's mortal, what's changing and thus dies, that's called mortality. But when I identify with the immortal self, where I realize that I'm the immortal self, that is immortality. And so this bhakti is of the nature of immortality because number one, Bhagavan is immortal, never ever gonna perish, right? Bhagavan is not born, nor does Bhagavan die. And secondly is that the self of Bhagavan and the self of me is the same. It's that immortal self, it's mortal nature. So this is the nature of this supreme love, or what we call devotion. Now, the question comes, but why should I have this love? Why should I develop this bhakti? What will happen to me if I develop this bhakti? So now Sutra 4 gives the result. So Sutra 4 opens up to Sutra 5 and Sutra 6 very beautifully. So we will see this connection. Sutra 4 says, Yallabdva Puman Siddho Bhavati Puman Siddho Bhavati Amrito Bhavati Amrito Bhavati Tripto Bhavati Tripto Bhavati Yallabdva Puman Siddho Bhavati Amrito Bhavati Tripto Bhavati. Yat, that bhakti, labdva, having gained, puman, the person becomes siddha, perfect. Perfect means established in bhakti. Amrito bhavati. Here that amritaha now is fearless, becomes fearless. Triptaha bhavati, becomes satisfied. Bhavati means becomes. So having gained bhakti, now just think, bhakti is not something that we can make happen. It's like jignasa, the desire for knowledge of the self. It's not something that you can make happen. Just think about it. For some people, when they see small children, their hearts melt, right? When you see small children, they're so, so cute, the hearts will melt. Some people, when they see puppies, their hearts melt. Some people, when they see people who need things, who are in need, their hearts melt. So this bhakti is not something we can sort of force. So sometimes in our life, we're like, well, I'm not feeling that love. I'm not, if somebody says, why don't you love this? Or why don't you you go out with this boy or you go out with this girl? I'm not feeling it. It's not coming, right? That love just comes. So bhakti is not something we can force. Nobody can say, have bhakti. But there are things which can be done, which can inspire that bhakti. Like Shravana, listening to stories of Bhagavan. When we listen to stories, then our hearts grow, in bhakti. They're like, wow. Kirtana, singing the songs of Bhagavan. Sometimes when we listen to these bhajans, we just go on a different dimension altogether. So there are certain things that can make bhakti bloom, means inspire bhakti to bloom. But when bhakti comes, it comes on its own. We cannot force it. So this yallabdva means it just blooms. It comes through this environment. That's why this satsang and all is so, so important. I'll share with you one thing that happened to me, which I really loved. I went to, Rishikesh, and there I went to Divine Life Society. And there was a program. I couldn't stay there. It was very, very busy. Swami Shivanandaji's Aradhana week was going on, and they were fully booked. But anyway, I went because there were some programs. And I didn't know what was going on where. But anyway, I just found one program and I sat down. And it was one of the Swamijis that I really like. And he was speaking about bhakti. And so I was just listening. And he said something so incredibly touching to me that I just keep it in my mind all the time. He said that there was this Apaya Dikshit. Apaya Dikshit now is ancestor Swami Shivanandaji. And once he wrote these beautiful verses, and I'll send it to you after I have it somewhere. He was in this temple in Chidambara. Okay. He was in this temple in Chidambara. And it was like they were putting Abhisheka on Lord Shiva early in the morning. They were putting Abhisheka on Lord Shiva. And so this Apaya Dikshit, he said, oh Lord Shiva, don't you feel cold? They're putting this cold Abhisheka on you. They're pouring all these liquids on you. Then it chandan, water, whatever it is, they're pouring it on you. And on top of that, you have Ganga coming out of your head. Lord Shiva has Ganga coming out of his jata. And then you have the moon on your forehead. And then not only that, but on the left of you, Girija. You have Parvati Mata, the daughter of the Himalayas. And then you sit in Kailash. So how cold must you be? You have all this Abhisheka coming on you. You have this moon in your head, Ganga coming out of your jata, Parvati Mata sitting in your left. You're in Kailash. You must be freezing. He says, come to my mind where it's very hot. It's filled with lots and lots of desire. You must be cold. So you need a warm place to stay. Come to my mind. It's very hot there. And this is how he writes. So when we when we come to these places where there's bhakti, then it just blooms in our hearts. Such saints and sages have that ability to make us bloom with love. So this is what Yallabha means. Then Puman, that person, Siddho Bhavati. Siddha means somebody who's perfected in a siddhi. But here, one who becomes established in bhakti. Sometimes, people have a problem with bhakti. That in Advaita, how can we have bhakti? But in Advaita, there is the most beautiful bhakti. That's seeing your oneness with that God. That is actually the most beautiful, beautiful form of bhakti. And the more the wisdom grows, the more the love grows. And the deeper the love, the more wisdom comes. So one becomes established in this bhakti. How do we know that somebody has knowledge of the self? What is one of the signs that someone has knowledge? One of the great signs that someone has knowledge of the self is their ability to love and accommodate all. They have that ability to see to everybody, to love everybody, accommodate everybody without judgment, understanding that everybody is that form of divinity. So Siddha Bhavati means that, the ability to love all. Ability to understand that there are many people coming from different spaces and places. Why do we need to judge? Just love. When we question, when we judge, we make the other person feel so uncomfortable. Like, why is this person judging me? But when we greet everyone with love, people respond to that. And people need that also. So Siddha Bhavati, one becomes full of love. Then what else? What is the next one? Amritaha Bhavati. Somebody who is in this path of bhakti becomes fearless. Why do you say fearless? In life, when we have our families, our relationships, our work, sometimes we become so dependent on them, right? So what if I have no work? What do I do? What if I have no school, or I'm not studying anything? What do I do? What if my spouse goes away for some time on a break? What will I do? Or my family, goes on vacation without me. Well, sometimes we feel a little bit insecure. We feel a little bit afraid of what to do when we're on our own. Well, with bhakti, there's no boredom. If you're alone, what will you do? Sahasranama, read the Bhagavatam, listen to Ramayana, sing Kirtan, write letters, write poetry. Bhakti is so entertaining that there is no boredom. So if everybody goes away, you have your own bhakti with Bhagwan, and it's so incredibly beautiful. It's actually such a creative expression that you can paint, you can sing, you can write, you can dance. And this is why the gopis also were so fearless. So Amrita Bhavati, people become fearless because bhakti is such an entertaining kind of love, Love for jnana is very beautiful in its own right. It is incredibly beautiful. But not very many people can be entertained through that. Not many people. The love for bhakti has the ability to capture so many more people. So this makes one fearless because we become independent of other things. You go, you do this, you do that. I have my own bhakti. And with this bhakti, there is no boredom. There's only beauty and bliss. What to talk of japa? Once Swamiji said, what do you do on the plane? Do your japa. Don't do anything. Sit the whole plane, right? Sit and do your japa. So, there's so many things we can do with bhakti. It's far and wide. Then, triptaha bhavati. With this bhakti also, one becomes truly content. What do we mean by contentment? What we mean by contentment is that we don't want anything else in the world. There's no more want for things in the world. So I'll just chant Sutra 5 because it explains what this contentment is. Huh? So I'll go a little bit into Sutra 5 and then we will just explain what this contentment is. Yat prapya na kinchit vanchati, na kinchit vanchati, na shochati, na shochati, na dveshti, na dveshti, na ramate, na ramate, notsahi bhavati, notsahi bhavati. Yat prapya na kinchit vanchati, na shochati, na dveshti, na ramate, notsahi bhavati. That contentment means this. Yat prapya, having gained this bhakti, na kinchit vanchati, one doesn't desire the world anymore. Na shochati, one doesn't grieve. Na dveshti, one doesn't dislike. Na ramate, one doesn't revel in the world. Notsahi, one doesn't have this unnecessary enthusiasm for the world. Bhavati, so one doesn't have all of these things. Having attained which, he or she desires not even a little, never grieves, never hates, never delights in anything. And he or she finds no urge or enthusiasm or sense of enjoyment. So what does that mean? So Guruji gives a very, very beautiful example. Some might think that this person is so incredibly dull, doesn't want anything. It doesn't rejoice, it doesn't become sad, doesn't like, doesn't dislike. This person must be a stone. But just think if you and I have eaten a very, very, very wonderful meal. So we went to this beautiful buffet dinner. Diwali is coming up. So we went to this Diwali dinner and we ate and it was so amazing. The food was really, really good. And now all of a sudden, we didn't know, but they're bringing another course. So we ate already. This happens quite a lot, right? You finish everything and then there's a whole other course that we didn't know. A whole other course comes. Now, what would you and I feel if we're very full? Would we say we want anything? No, if we were good. Otherwise, some of us will keep eating and eating. Na vanchati. So we don't want anything. Will we say, I would like the pasta, but I really don't like this salad. I like this, but I don't like this. Would we have likes and dislikes? No, no interest at all. Naramate. Would we even revel in the food? We wouldn't even want to look at it because we're done. We're done. Maybe we'll say, well, let's go for a walk. We've already eaten. Or na utsahi, would we be so incredibly enthusiastic to try something? No, we wouldn't because we're so full. So when one has this bhakti, they become full. They become full that the taste or those desires for the world, they dry up. So this is what the contentment means. So from Sutra 4 to Sutra 5, the one who experiences this bhakti, what happens? They become established in that love. Because of that love, they are fearless. If anybody goes or leaves them, they're okay. And because they are fearless and reveling in that which is divine, they are truly content. What is the nature of that contentment? They don't want the world. They don't grieve. They don't hate. They don't revel in anything. They don't become enthusiastic towards anything. Their minds and hearts are simply living in and as God. Okay, So let's pause here.